you have a unique story, 4 founders all coming together. I don't know if you all knew each other, classmates or anything like that, but that's kind of unusual. I mean, I feel most people think about 2 or 3, but you decided a four founding team. Like, how did that sort of manifest itself, and how'd you guys, here we are still all together? Mm-hmm. Okay, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I think that's the latter part is what's sort of what I've found to be unique, just in comparing notes to a lot of other people. Is I've seen companies started by a handful of founders, but usually over time, it ends up with one person left or 2 people left, and roles change dramatically over time as the company scales. So it doesn't suit everyone's needs or preference, and so that's where you start to see a lot of fallout and change. But for us, the idea that we were pursuing in this category of, at the time, was an ITSM space, and we can cover more of that. I had actually, believe it or not, I mean, the thesis that VCs have a lot of insight into who's working on what is very true. But Vaibhav and I were first introduced by VC.
Oh, wow.
So, and I've generally been skeptical of these introductions, and a lot didn't go anywhere. But this one, obviously, in the first meeting, I knew that we could really get along, and that there was a lot of depth in both of our backgrounds and understanding of the market. Me coming from this sort of consumery, mobile productivity space, Vaibhav coming from the enterprise software category, and so I think that made for a very interesting sort of combination. But as we were looking at the ideas that made the most sense, and Moveworks was only one of several, it started to become clear that we needed other expertise. And then my friend, who was early at Facebook, had introduced me to a guy named Varun, who became our third co-founder, who had been doing bots. And this is the era of conversational commerce, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be the whole next wave of how people purchase. Of course, it didn't go anywhere. And at the time, the news headlines were "bots are dead," which is sort of ironic to say, but then we knew it was a perfect
bots
time.
are definitely not dead. We can all know that.
It's definitely not true now, but at the time, it was perfect time to start a company, because it's almost like you want to go against the general consensus or work on the next evolution of something that's been declared dead. So Varun was at Facebook, knocked on his door. We started, got talking about,
Did you know him from did you work with him or
No, it was just through a friend. It was a mutual friend who worked with Varun, who knew him, and then basically made the introduction, had the conversation, and 2-3 meetings in, it was pretty clear that he would be a tremendous member of our core and founding team. And even with that, so we had kind of founder background with Vaibhav and I, kind of having started several companies before. Varun had not. He'd been early in a few startups, so he actually knew how things came together. But this was a new opportunity for him to take on. But we still didn't have the depth in machine learning, which is what we called it back then. And so that's when we went on the search for Jung. That was a different kind of phenomenon. So it wasn't a VC, it wasn't a trusted friend, but it was good old LinkedIn. So we went to LinkedIn, we searched based on skills, based on backgrounds, based on resumes. No different than a talent person would go source. And we found Jung. He had been working on a bunch of things at Google. He had just made a transition to Airbnb to lead some of their machine learning products and sort of investments. But he had done a lot of the work at Google on the search team. So under that larger umbrella of Amit Singh's team doing core search, he was part of something called Web Answers, which was, at that time, using machine learning to understand questions such a way that they could provide real answers. So why is the sky blue? How do helicopters fly? Google was giving you these paragraphs, which is now commonplace with Gemini, but in those days, that was quite magical. And so we found him out, knocked on his door a bunch of times. I mean, he sort of said, yeah, I'm neat what you guys are doing, but I don't want to talk, or I'm not interested in starting a company. But after some persistence.
Did you reach out to say, hey, we're looking for a founding member of our team, or was it more of a, hey, we're working on an idea, we'd love to kind of run it by you?
It's a latter. I mean, that's sort of the best way to kind of at least open it up. Otherwise, it's too heavy of a,
You're like, whoa, I'm not.
Yeah,
who are you?
It's like take a chill, like slow down. So we did that, and then over time, I think he started to get intrigued by this enterprise software space and what could be done there. And the conversation was actually quite interesting. It was like, hey, based on what you know about machine learning and the understanding of text, could you imagine a world where we could solve a percentage of IT support issues completely autonomously using some software we built? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, show me some tickets. So we got some tickets that we'd gotten from customers who we were collaborating with, prospective customers, and we showed it to him, and he looked them over, and just gut check. He's like, yeah, I think there's enough know-how out there and technology and statistical models at the mm-hmm. time, or techniques, sliding windows and mm-hmm. Bayesian trees mm-hmm. and networks and things like that, to solve about 30%. Like, understand. I'm mm-hmm. like, well, shoot, if we could solve 30% of the world's IT tickets, that seems like a pretty reasonable business to start and mm-hmm. found. So it took about 6 months to sort of assemble, the four of us. But that's really when things got started and got going in earnest.
One of the things I always, when I meet with founders, is there's sort of two things I say why companies kind of fail. One is sort of a founder dynamic, founder breakup, or they just give up altogether. How did you all, four people, no one really kind of knew each other. How did you all, in the early days, did you guys have clear roles and responsibilities? Was it like we're all going to make decisions together? How did you guys get through that? Because it feels like there's a lot of tension these days and a lot of opinions about what you should do and how you should go about doing it. Or there was just like, Bhavin, we trust you. How did you go about doing it?
Yeah, I think we got very lucky. I think, also for at least Vaibhav and I, and, to a good extent, Varun too, we'd been through this startup journey. We've seen what good founders sound like, feel like, what not so good founders, what things happen. And so I think we all went in there with a consciousness around what it was going to take. And, the collaboration was actually, I don't know, kind of hit the ground right at the right tone and the right volume in terms of, how we were going to work together. I think Jung had the clear background in AI. Vaibhav had a lot of background in building companies and systems and platforms and so forth. So there was a division of labor there that emerged rather quickly. Varun was, a product genius and had been spending a lot of time in this space. And so there was a natural understanding of then how to break down customer needs. And we saw it in our first meetings with prospective customers. I mean, depending on what the question was, that person was on the whiteboard and mm-hmm. answering the questions and working things through. So it was like we were sort of kind of all trained and built for this moment where we came together. I think there was probably a bit of a understanding implicit, never was explicit, that I would definitely be leveraging my background in the Valley in my network with VCs to be able to bring resources to the business. And so I think when you look at our early investors like Lightspeed and others, a lot of those were contacts that I had or that I'd built up over time. But very specifically, we were focused on just on that point on people who knew the space mm-hmm. rather than people who had funded me before, people I'd worked with. So there was some of that, and I think that along the way the road twists and turns, and I've just tried to be as accepting of everyone's strengths as much as I can to support the business. So it was less about ego. It was less about oh well, I need to be this person, and in fact there's oftentimes the case that folks would confuse Varun and myself as being the CEO. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't mind it. It's sort of like, great, if you can do that meeting or you can do that, that fireside chat, great, go do it. Because it only gives us strength to have the ability to be everywhere in the world all at once, because we could sort of divide and conquer. So, mm-hmm. I think it's just also a matter of age. We were also at the right place where I think we had less that we were trying to prove. We all felt really comfortable in our own skin, and I think that helped a lot.
If you were chatting with a founder about this, founders that are, meeting in a very similar fashion, I mean, it sounds like, I don't know if it was just kind of a great chemistry, or like, how would you advise founders that are kind of meeting in the kind of same sort of circumstance that you all did with your amazing team?
So, and it wasn't as much that we did this prior, but in hindsight, one of the other factors that allowed us to build a company and allowed us to navigate a lot of different ups and downs was the fact that we all were in a similar place in our lives. We all were either having kids or had kids. We all had spouses who were very committed to each of our success.
Was that something you were assessing, like, or was that just kind of like
so looking back, we had that, and it was sort of fortuitous. So going back to your question of like what would founders look at, to me, I would actually learn a lot more about what's driving their personal ambition, what's happening at home, what is their long view on this. What if it does take 20 years? What if you're like Jensen Huang, and it's like 33 years in the making? What happens to the team and the support system behind those individuals over that course of time? Where you, in the case of NVIDIA, large destructions of value, where you have to stick with it. And so I think looking back on that, if you're looking at your co-founder potentials, prospects, find out what's going on.
Four seems like a lot, though.
It does.
Like, would you advise on 4?
I think it was the right decision for us. I would say, most common is 2. Very uncommon is 1.
Right. Everybody says 3 feels right because you have like
you have an imbalance, so you can kind of outvote and kind of get going with decisions. I think it just depends on the complexity of the problem, and I think if you can do with more than 2, or if you can do with 3 instead of 4, it's still you're probably better off.
Did you all have any rituals though, like that sort of like kept you? I was chatting with some other founders, like, hey, once a month we would go do this thing as a team, like just to make sure that we're connected and sort of on the fabric of how we want to go build. Like, did you all have anything like that?
Yeah. So when it comes to the rituals, I mean, we would do dinners every month. We would do weekly. And I couldn't tell you exactly when we began this, because in the early days you're spending all day with each other, so you sort of don't need any special carved out time during the work week outside of these dinners. But over time we started to institute kind of a founders weekly, and that would be about 90 minutes, typically on a Friday, where we'd sort of like reflect on the week, talk about what's happening in each of our areas, discuss hard issues that we were facing. And I think that was very useful, because that's where you sort of can realign and make sure no one goes into the weekend like completely tweaked and worked up over something. Like, you can get it out on the table.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Ben Kesnoka, co-founder of Village Global. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Village Global podcast, where we go deep on all of the biggest topics in tech. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to see you for the next one.